The sound of a shovel striking the ground at 2 in the morning was the last thing Dante Moretti expected to hear outside his bedroom window. He pulled the curtain aside. His maid was digging beneath the oldest tree on his property. Elena, the quiet woman who had worked in his mansion for 6 months. The woman who never complained, never asked questions, never broke a single rule. And now she was standing barefoot in the darkness with shovel in her hands. Dante watched for several seconds. Then he saw what she pulled from the ground, a black metal box. His expression changed. That tree had been forbidden territory for as long as he could remember. His father had disappeared there 20 years ago. No body had ever been recovered. No explanation had ever satisfied Dante. He had inherited the Moretti Empire with one purpose: find the people responsible. And now his maid was digging directly above the place where his father's final car had been found. Dante left his room. He didn't alert security. He didn't take his men. He wanted to know what Elena was hiding. He followed her into the garden. She never heard him. Elena knelt beside the hole and opened the box. Inside was a photograph. She stared at it. Then a voice came from behind her. "What are you doing?" Elena froze. The photograph slipped from her fingers. Dante picked it up. His blood ran cold. His father was in the photograph, alive, standing beside a young woman, Elena's mother, and between them stood a little girl. "Elena." Dante slowly lifted his eyes. "You knew my father." Elena's lips trembled. "I knew of him." "That isn't what I asked." She looked at the photograph. "My mother told me never to talk about him." "When?" "Before she died." Dante stepped closer. "Why were you digging here?" Elena didn't answer. His voice hardened. "Why?" She finally whispered. "She told me to find the box." Dante looked down. "What is inside?" "I don't know." "You opened it." "I was afraid." "Of what?" Elena looked into his eyes. "Of what you'd do if you found out why I came here." The words hung between them. Dante had spent his entire life surrounded by people who feared him. He had built his empire on loyalty enforced by fear, money, and violence. Yet Elena had never behaved like the others. She had entered his mansion with nothing but a small suitcase. She cooked his meals, prepared his clothes, quietly cleaned the blood from his shirts without asking where it came from. And somehow, she had become the only person in the mansion Dante trusted enough to leave alone with his private life. He had never understood why. Now he wondered if her presence had always been part of a larger plan. "Were you sent here?" Elena's eyes filled with tears. "Yes." Dante's hand moved toward his gun. "By whom?" "My mother." His expression hardened. "To spy on me?" "No." "To steal from me?" "No." "Then why?" Elena looked at the photograph. "To protect you." Dante almost laughed. "From what?" She opened her mouth. A gunshot interrupted her. The bullet struck the tree beside Dante's head. He grabbed Elena and pulled her down. Another shot tore through the branches. Security alarms exploded across the mansion. Dante drew his weapon. His guards rushed into the garden. "Find the shooter." Men scattered across the property. Dante kept Elena behind him, but she wasn't looking at the guards. She was staring at the hole. The black box was gone. Someone had taken it. Dante's eyes narrowed. "How?" Elena whispered. "They were waiting for us." Dante turned toward her. "Who?" "The people who killed your father." The words silenced him. For 15 years, Dante had hunted the men responsible for his father's death. He had destroyed rival organizations, taken over territory, forced enemies to kneel, all because he believed his father's murder had been an attack by a rival family. Now Elena was telling him the truth might be something else entirely. Before Dante could question her, one of his guards shouted from the far end of the garden, "Boss!" Dante ran toward him. The guard was standing beside a trail of blood. It led toward an abandoned greenhouse. Inside, they found a broken chair, a bloodstained knife, and dozens of photographs covering the walls. Dante stared. Every photograph was of him. At meetings, leaving the mansion, walking through the garden, sleeping inside his bedroom. Then he saw Elena. There were photographs of her too. Some had been taken years earlier. Dante turned toward her. "You've been watched." Elena's face went pale. Then she noticed one photograph that made her stop breathing. Her mother, standing outside the Moretti mansion. The date was written underneath. Yesterday. Elena shook her head. "No." Dante looked at her. "Your mother died 6 years ago." "I know." "Then who took this?" Elena couldn't answer. A phone began ringing. It was lying on the greenhouse floor. Dante picked it up. "No caller ID." He answered. Silence. Then an elderly man's voice came through. "Dante." Dante froze. His face lost all color. He knew that voice. He had heard it as a child. His father's voice. Elena covered her mouth. The voice continued. "You shouldn't have followed the maid." Dante gripped the phone. "Where are you?" A quiet laugh. "Closer than you think. Show yourself." "You're not ready." Dante's jaw tightened. "What do you want?" "I want my son to stop digging." The call ended. Dante stared at the phone. Elena was crying silently. Her entire world had just collapsed. Because if Dante's father was alive, then everything she had believed about her mother's death was a lie too. And if both parents were connected to the secret buried beneath the mansion, then Elena hadn't entered Dante's life by coincidence. She had been sent there. But by whom? Before Dante could ask, the greenhouse door slammed shut. A man appeared outside the glass. He held the black metal box. Dante recognized him immediately. One of his father's closest lieutenants. A man officially declared dead 20 years earlier. The man smiled and pointed toward Elena. "She doesn't know the truth." Dante raised his weapon. "Then tell me." The man's smile disappeared. "Your father didn't disappear." He looked at Elena. He was betrayed. Then his eyes returned to Dante. And the woman who betrayed him, he paused, was Elena's mother. The greenhouse lights suddenly went out. A gunshot echoed through the darkness. Dante felt Elena's hand slip from his. And when the lights returned, she was gone. But the black box was still lying on the floor. And beside it was a note addressed to Dante. "If you want your maid back, open the box alone." Dante stared at the message. For the first time in 15 years, the truth about his father's disappearance was within reach. But getting the truth might cost him the only woman he had begun to trust. Would Dante open the box and risk Elena's life? Or finally walk away from the secret that had controlled his entire existence? Dante stared at the black box for several seconds. Every instinct told him not to open it. Every memory of his father told him he had no choice. He picked up the box. The moment he opened it, a small recording device activated. His father's voice filled the greenhouse. "If you're hearing this, Dante, then someone has finally brought you to the place where I failed." Dante stopped breathing. Elena was missing. His father's voice was speaking from a box buried beneath his own mansion. And somewhere outside, an enemy was waiting for him to make the next move. The recording continued. "Do not trust the Bellandis. Do not trust the Morettis. And above all, do not trust the man who tells you Elena's mother betrayed me." The recording ended. Dante looked up sharply. The lieutenant's accusation had been a lie. But why? Then his phone buzzed. A photograph appeared. Elena was sitting inside a dark room, her hands tied behind her back. A man stood behind her. His face was hidden. Under the photograph was a message. "Come to the old railway tunnel alone." Dante's expression became lethal. He left the greenhouse immediately. By dawn, every Moretti soldier had been mobilized. Dante ignored the demand to come alone. He set men to surround the railway tunnel while he entered through the western entrance. Inside, Elena was nowhere to be seen. Instead, Dante found one of his own guards hanging from a chain. Alive. Barely. The man opened his eyes. "Boss!" "Where is she?" The guard struggled to breathe. "They took her underground." "Who?" The man whispered one name. "Bellandi." Dante's jaw tightened. The Bellandi family had been his enemy for years, but they had never dared touch his household. Now they had taken Elena, and Dante knew why. She was no longer just a maid. She was the key to a secret that could destroy several powerful families. He ordered his men into the tunnel. The shooting began before they reached the second chamber. Bullets tore through the darkness. Moretti's soldiers exchanged fire with heavily armed men wearing Bellandi insignia. Dante moved forward without hesitation. One enemy fell, then another. His men pushed deeper into the tunnel until they reached a massive underground chamber. And there, standing beneath a single hanging light, was Luca Bellandi. Elena was beside him. Her wrists were tied. Her face was bruised. But she was alive. Dante raised his weapon. Luca smiled. You actually came. Let her go. You've never sounded this desperate. Dante took another step. Last warning. Luca laughed. You think this is about the girl? He gestured toward Elena. This is about what her mother stole from our families. Elena suddenly spoke. She didn't steal anything. Luca looked at her. You finally remember. Dante's eyes narrowed. Remember what? Elena closed her eyes. Fragments were returning. A dark room. Her mother's voiced out a man shouting. A gunshot. Her father? She didn't know. Then a memory surfaced. She was a little girl, hiding beneath a table. Her mother was arguing with a man. The man was Dante's father. And another man was standing behind him. Her uncle. Dante's uncle. Elena opened her eyes. I remember. Dante looked at her. What? Your father didn't betray my mother. Her voice trembled. He was trying to save her. Luca's expression changed. That isn't what happened. Elena shook her head. He gave her the ledger. Dante froze. What ledger? The one that proves who ordered the murders. Luca stepped forward. You don't remember everything. I remember enough. Then a second group of armed men entered the chamber. Dante recognized their insignia. They weren't Bellandi soldiers. They belonged to the Black Serpents, an international crime syndicate that had been quietly expanding into the city. Their leader walked toward them. Victor Kane, a man Dante had been warned about for years. Victor smiled. Enough family drama. Dante's eyes hardened. You're behind this. Victor shrugged. I'm behind the opportunity. He revealed the truth. The Bellandis had never been strong enough to destroy Dante alone. Victor had financed them. He had supplied weapons. He had leaked information. He had manipulated the war between the families because he wanted Dante and Luca to weaken each other. Then he would take the city's criminal network for himself. But there was something Victor wanted more than territory. The ledger, because it contained names powerful enough to bring down governments. Dante understood. The secret beneath his mansion wasn't merely about his father. It was the foundation of an entire criminal empire. And Elena's mother had hidden the final evidence. Victor pointed his gun at Elena. Tell me where the rest of it is. Elena refused. Victor struck her. Dante's expression changed. For years, his men had feared his anger. Now they saw something worse. Silence. Dante lowered his weapon. Victor smiled. Smart. Then Dante moved. He fired at the overhead lights. Darkness exploded across the chamber. His men attacked. Gunfire filled the tunnel. Elena dropped to the floor as Dante reached her. He cut her restraints. Can you walk? Yes. Then stay close. They ran through the chaos. Luca's men turned against Victor. The Black Serpents opened fire on everyone. The underground chamber became a war zone. Dante and Elena reached the tunnel entrance. Then Elena stopped. Dante. He turned. There is something you need to know. What? She looked terrified. My mother wasn't the only person who survived that night. Dante stared at her. Who else? Elena swallowed. Your father? Dante froze. Before he could respond, a bullet struck the wall beside them. They escaped into the night. But Dante's mind was no longer on the battle. His father was alive. Elena's mother might be alive. And both families had spent 20 years hiding the truth. When they returned to the mansion, Dante took Elena into his private study. He locked the door. You knew something. Elena looked down. I suspected. How long? Since I found the photograph. You should have told me. I was afraid. Afraid of what? That you'd blame me. Dante's voice became cold. For what? My mother? He stared at her. You think she betrayed my father. I don't know. But you came here to find out. Yes. And all this time you were hiding it. Elena's eyes filled with tears. I was trying to protect you. Dante turned away. Everyone keeps saying that. He looked back at her. Your mother. My father. You. His voice cracked with anger. Everyone decide what I should know. Elena stepped closer. You think I wanted any of this? You lied to me. I was your maid. What did you expect? I expected you to trust me. That silencer. The words hung between them. Not as the Mafia boss and his employee. Not as captor and prisoner. As two people who begun caring for each other without admitting it. Elena whispered, I do trust you. Then stop protecting me with lies. She looked at him. I was afraid if you knew the truth, you'd hate me. Dante stepped closer. I could hate the truth. His eyes softened. But I don't know how to hate you. Elena's tears finally fell. For one moment, the war outside disappeared. Then an explosion rocked the mansion. The study windows shattered. Dante immediately pushed Elena to the floor. A burning vehicle had crashed through the front gate. Moretti's soldiers rushed into the courtyard. Then the security system activated. Every screen inside the mansion displayed the same image. An old video. Dante's father, alive, sitting in a dark room. Beside him was Elena's mother. Both looked terrified. Then a third man entered the frame. Dante stared. His blood ran cold. It was his uncle, the man believed dead for 20 years. His uncle looked directly into the camera. If Dante ever sees this, he smiled. Tell him the truth was never buried under mansion. The video paused. Then one final sentence appeared. The secret is buried inside the woman he loves. Dante slowly turned toward Elena. She looked as shocked as he was. Then the mansion doors exploded inward. Victor Kane's soldiers stormed the estate. Dante grabbed Elena's hand. We're leaving. But before they could reach the exit, Elena suddenly collapsed. Dante caught her. Her eyes opened weakly, and she whispered something that made his blood run cold. I remember where the ledger is. Where? She looked toward the garden. Inside your father's grave. Dante stared at her. His father had never been buried there, because there had never been a body, which meant the grave wasn't a grave at all. It was a hiding place, and whatever waited beneath it could finally reveal who betrayed both families. Dante pulled Elena to her feet, but before they reached the garden, every armed man in the mansion lowered his weapon, not toward the enemy, toward Dante. His own soldiers had turned against him. A man stepped from the shadows. Dante recognized him immediately. His second in command, the man who had served his family for 20 years, he pointed his gun at Dante. I'm sorry, boss. Dante stared at him. For what? The man's eyes moved toward Elena. For finishing what your father started. And suddenly Dante understood. The betrayal had never been outside the Moretti family. It had been waiting inside his own mansion all along. Dante did not raise his weapon. His soldiers had surrounded him. His own second-in-command had betrayed him, and Elena was standing beside him, trembling. But Dante noticed something the others hadn't. Every soldier pointing a gun at him was standing too far apart. They weren't there to kill him. They were waiting for someone else. Then Elena whispered, the grave? Dante understood. The ledger was the real target. He grabbed Elena's hand and ran. Gunfire erupted behind them. They reached the garden as bullets tore through the stone walls. Dante stopped beside the empty grave marked with his father's name. Elena dropped to her knees. This isn't where he was buried. She touched the stone. There was never a body. Dante pulled the gravestone aside. Beneath it was a steel door. Inside was a narrow chamber. And there was the ledger. But it wasn't alone. A small cassette recorder sat beside it. Dante pressed play. His father's voice filled the chamber. I knew my brother would betray me. Dante closed his eyes. The recording revealed everything. His father had discovered that his own brother was working with Victor Kane and several rival families. He had planned to expose them. But Elena's mother had helped him. She had taken the ledger and hidden it. The night they disappeared, they had staged their deaths to protect their children. Dante's father had spent 20 years hiding because he knew the conspiracy was too powerful. Elena's mother had done the same, but they had never abandoned their children. They had watched from a distance, protecting them whenever the danger came close. Then the recording revealed the final truth. Elena's mother had deliberately sent her daughter into Dante's mansion, not to spy, not to steal, but because she knew the conspiracy had finally returned. And Dante was the only man powerful enough to end it. Elena began crying. "My mother knew you would protect me." Dante looked at her. "She knew before I did." A gunshot came from above. The chamber shook. Victor Kane had found them. Dante closed the ledger. "Stay here." Elena shook her head. "Not anymore." They climbed out together. The garden had become a battlefield. Victor's men surrounded the mansion. The Moretti soldiers who had betrayed Dante were standing beside him, and at the center was Dante's second-in-command. He raised his weapon. "You should have died with your father." Dante looked at him. "You served my family for 20 years. I served power. And now," the man smiled, "now I serve the man who will own this city." Victor Kane stepped forward. Dante finally understood the entire game. The war had been engineered. The Bellandis had been manipulated. His father had been betrayed. Elena's mother had been hunted. And Dante's own organization had been infiltrated for years. Victor wanted the empire. The ledger was his final obstacle. Dante looked at Elena, then at the soldiers, then at the man who had betrayed his family. For years, Dante had believed power meant controlling everyone around him. Now he understood the truth. Power meant knowing when to stop. He lowered his weapon. Victor laughed. Finally, Dante looked at him. "You wanted my empire?" "Yes. Yes. You can have what's left." Victor frowned. Dante pressed a button on the ledger's recorder. The entire conversation from the underground tunnel played through the mansion speakers. Victor's confession, the names, the weapons deals, the murders, everything. Dante had secretly recorded their confrontation, and he had already sent copies to federal investigators. Victor's smile vanished. Police sirens erupted beyond the gates. Victor's men began running. His network collapsed within minutes. The second-in-command dropped his weapon. Dante walked toward him. The man expected death. Instead, Dante stepped aside. "Lie with what you did." It was worse than a bullet, because the man's entire world was collapsing. The Bellandi family was dismantled. Victor was arrested. The corrupt officials connected to conspiracy were exposed. And the Moretti Empire changed forever. Dante surrendered control of the criminal operations his father had built. He sold the weapons businesses, closed the illegal warehouses, and turned the legitimate companies into legal enterprises. For the first time, the Moretti name wasn't feared because of bloodshed. It was respected because Dante had chosen to break the cycle. Elena changed too. She stopped calling herself a maid. She opened a small restaurant using the recipes her mother had taught her. The first dish she served was the one she had cooked for Dante on his first night. He came alone. No guards. No weapons. No empire. Just Dante. Elena looked at him from behind the counter. "You followed me once." Dante smiled faintly. "You were carrying a shovel. And you thought I was hiding something." "You were." She smiled. "The truth." Dante looked around the small restaurant. "You found it." "No." She walked toward him. "We found it." That difference mattered, because their story had started with suspicion, then danger, then betrayal, and finally trust. Dante had once believed Elena was a maid hiding secrets beneath his mansion. Instead, she had become the woman who uncovered the truth buried beneath his entire life. Years later, people would still tell stories about the Mafia boss who lost his empire because he followed a maid into the garden one night. But Elena always corrected them. He hadn't lost everything. He had lost the man he used to be. And that was the greatest revenge of all, because the woman Dante Moretti once suspected of betraying him became the only person who could teach him how to live without fear. Sometimes the person you follow because you don't trust him is the very person who leads you back to the truth and the love you were never meant to lose. So tell me, if you were Dante, Would you have forgiven Elena for hiding the truth, or would betrayal have ended their love forever?